grand opening, grand closing.
Welcome, my friends, my family, my fellow gamers. Your only friend these YouTube streets, Porter Rock 77. I'm back with another video. I know it's been about a week or so. Just came back from San Francisco with my daughter celebrating her birthday. So me and my wife, we went up there. So didn't do any content since Tuesday. But now I'm back. I'm going to talk about a little bit about PlayStation and a little bit about Xbox today, right? First two news for the PlayStation side, not so good news, especially for you multiplayer cats. As you can see from the screen here, little bit of bad news about Fair Games. What we got here, it says Fair Games from PlayStation Haven Games apparently doesn't feel good to play and is super clunky in its current guise. According to PlayStation podcast Sacred Symbols, the game recently had a pre-alpha under codename Project Hearts, but the feedback has not been good. So apparently there's been a private pre-alpha. Chances are a lot of like the content creators that are specifically multiplayer gamers that they stream multiplayer games, that's pretty much what they do. So they're playing multiplayer games like service games all the time. I notice a lot of these guys get special access to all different types of developers and publishers, whether it's EA, Ubisoft, all that stuff, because they're known for always playing live service games and they're always playing online. And part of it is just part of the culture and the success of the stuff, right? So they're just well known and they do it all the time. They put in thousands and thousands of hours into these games, right? So I notice a lot of studios look for them for their feedback. Apparently it was a private test among these guys, and the feedback on Fair Games has not been good at all. And to be at this point where a game might release next year and it feels super clunky, that spells bad news, right? But it doesn't stop there, right? We also got this from Colin Moriarty. It says right here, according to Colin Moriarty, Sony has no marketing plans for Marathon next quarter. After the mixed reception of the alpha and the theft of assets, the fate of the title remains in doubt. Adding in subsequent articles on the subject, it had been said that there were discussions with Sony about a possible delay. That is what Colin said in his podcast. And this is Colin being quoted. I was told by someone familiar with marketing plans in the key overseas market that there are now no plans to do paid marketing for Marathon at all. I don't know if those plans were affected by what has recently happened or if that was always the plan or whatever, but it is considered a fairly unusual move for a game of this high profile. So if you guys don't know, apparently a lot of the artwork was stolen. It was people's private artwork, and a lot of inspiration or just outright copying was done. So a lot of the art style and everything was all other people's ideas, and they never got credited for it. They never got contact for it. They never got paid for it. Nothing. Like Bungie, I guess there were former employees who did it, and they're not there no more. But still, it's absolutely insane that a lot of the artwork was that, right? But also a lot of the pre-alpha reaction from a lot of people who were doing it, they're not impressed with the game either. So there's a lot of things wrong with this strategy. I mean, there's a lot of things wrong with Sony's live service multiplayer. I mean, the only thing that's been successful and has been doing outstanding, right? We gotta give credit, is Helldivers 2. Absolutely outstanding. I think they just did an update, so now Super Earth is getting invaded. I think the main creative lead or creative director says that every week they get 2.4 million players playing the game every week. So the game is an absolute colossal success. There's no doubt about it. The problem is it's like 1 out of 12 projects. Everything else that Sony has done has been canceled or failed, right? Or just not looking good in the direction it's going, right? Sony canceled multiple projects, right? You have Concord, that was a complete failure. And right now, Fair Games and Marathon is off to a bad start, right? When you have a new game, like let's say like Ghost of Yotai, right? There's excitement for that game and stuff like that, right? There's excitement for Intergalactic. There's excitement for like the Sony single player games. But these multiplayer games that Sony's been releasing, there's always something wrong. There's like a catch or 22 or something, right? It's not bringing excitement into the community, right? This strategy is really bad. I said, and if you've been rocking with this channel, you know for a long time, from the very first whispers of Sony pushing more live service, I had said this was a terrible plan, just terrible from the get-go, right? But back then, everybody's like, oh, Sony's got to find a way to make more money. They need recurring revenue. It was all the theory of if a live service game is successful, this is what it can do for the company and it can help fund more games. It was all theoretical, right? But now there's no more theory. Okay. Well, let me step back a little bit. There will still theories of Sony will push 12, 6 of them will fail, maybe 2 or 3 will be successful, and that will make it worth it. But that's not happening. All that theory is out the window. We can no longer in 2025 continue to talk theory about live service game. It's 2025. Wow, we're gonna wait another 5 years for a theoretical success? One successful game out of 12, failure. It's a complete failure. And all this stuff is truly unnecessary. All this investments, like Bungie was what, $3.6 billion? How many single player games could have been made? Now, of course, gamers are going to come back, but Sony's having trouble. Sony's had trouble. Money is expensive, blah, blah, blah. Let me ask you something. When did you guys prefer to talk about money than actually playing games? Because you guys ain't getting games. You multiplayer guys are not getting games. All you got was Helldivers. That's it. Out of 12 attempts, 1 game. So you guys are more worried about this theoretical talk like businessmen and not what games are you playing on your console. You don't have multiplayer games. You got Helldivers out of 12 attempts. That's it. So you're telling me you're cool with this? You're cool with Sony's 12 attempts, the millions they put in, $3.6 billion into Bungie. Here's the crazy part. The whole point of buying Bungie was for their expertise, and they suck. Some are even hyping, oh, Sony should just take over Bungie, right? Because I'm seeing that conversation too. Just take over Bungie. Just take over Bungie. To do what? Sony doesn't have skills in live service either. The whole point the $3.6 billion was spent was for them to bring their talent and help Sony's multiple studios push out live service games. And that hasn't happened. So right now, billions, I'm going to say billions, because I'm going to include Bungie. Billions have been invested to get 1 game, Helldivers 2. Billions invested for 1 game. And the crazy part is you didn't have to buy Bungie, because Bungie clearly is not doing a good job of, doing their skills to get all these multiple, live service games out the door, so that way you multiplayer PlayStation guys can actually be playing games. But you're not playing multiplayer games from Sony because they don't have any. They didn't release anything except for Helldivers. 1 game over a 5-year period, right? So if we were to look at hindsight, Bungie was a complete waste of purchase. It was a complete waste of purchase. Why? Because you would have gotten Marathon anyway without Sony spending $3.6 billion. Because it's a multiplat. The game's on Xbox, the game's on PC. It's a multiplat. Marathon would have been on PlayStation anyway, regardless. And we would have had, PlayStation would have $3.6 billion. The hell, you don't even have to spend the whole $3.6. $1 billion could have went towards single player games. At, let's say, $200 million a piece, we would have had 5 more single player games with $1 billion. 5 more than what we got now. That's a lot better than 1 multiplayer game out of 12. We should have just got that 1 multiplayer game and 5 more single player games on top of what we're getting now. The strategy is just garbage, It's just not looking good. It was a complete waste. Billions wasted. And the best you guys can do is just hope that it works one day, when in reality, we should all just be like, you know what? Just stop the bleeding. Cauterize the wound. Just seal it up. Just stop. We can't keep going, having project after project after project. We can't have 12 more projects and maybe out of the 12 projects, 1 more success. That is absolutely ridiculous. With a fraction of the money that's going to cost to invest in this live service, we can get more single player games. And I guarantee nobody in the PlayStation community will be upset with lots more single player games. Lots more single player games. Everybody be cool about that, But this is not looking good. This is just absolute asinine strategy. Absolute asinine. This game, and we all know what's her face. She left the company, so I don't even know who's in charge of Haven. This was her studio. Haven Games is her studio. What's her name? I forgot her name. But Unbelievable, right? But here's some good news though. Rumor has it on the upcoming Days of Play, the Days of Play is when Sony has this huge sale, usually during the spring or summer, like late spring, summer time frame. Huge discounts on PlayStation games, PlayStation Store, all that stuff, right? But now they're going to include discounts on hardware now. Right? Maybe they've done it before. I just never noticed. But rumor has it that on the Days of Plays with the dates overviewing, it's like 2 weeks. You're gonna get discounts on the PlayStation 5 Pro, PS5 Slim discounts, PSVR 2 headset discounts, and DualSense controllers. All right, that's the rumor for these, right? And then also games, of course, like that. But that will be huge considering that potentially in a few months you might end up paying more for these consoles when tariffs and stuff like that. Who knows when it will happen, but tariff hikes has been globally impacting just merchandise and stuff like that. So don't be surprised that eventually Sony will raise the prices on their products, right? And stuff like that, right? They're not going to eat the cost. It's going to get passed on to the consumers. Every consumer, every industry does that, right? They pass off the cost onto consumers because that's how they make profit, right? That's why Microsoft raised the prices on their Xbox consoles, even though people aren't buying it already. But those who do choose to buy Xbox consoles, you're eating up the cost. They're not going to eat it up for you. Bad enough already, right? But here we go. Days of Play, potentially cost savings on some great savings on these consoles. If you have not bought a PlayStation yet, we'll see if these are actually a true prediction, right? But if you do see sales on these consoles on the PlayStation 5, if you don't have a PlayStation 5 but you're planning to get one and you see this deal, take it. Because after this, I would say obviously it's going to go back to its normal price, but beyond that, it might potentially go even to a higher price with a price increase, right? If you're on the fence with the Pro, now's the perfect time to get it. It'll probably be cheaper. What is it? 700 now? Might be 650, 625. Take it. Take it. Go after it, right? Worst case scenario, if you don't like it and they raise the price of the consoles, you can sell it back for the same price that you bought it, because it'll still be cheaper than the new raised price and stuff like that, right? So I don't think you'll miss out on anything, stuff like that. But pay attention to the Days of Play if you're still rocking a PS4. And I'm surprised how many people are loving the PS4 that they're asking, I can say begging, but they're asking for GTA 6 announcement on the PS4. Some of them are even confused. Some of them are asking how come Grand Theft Auto 6 is not being mentioned for PlayStation 4? The answer is easy, because it's not coming on the PS4. So for those of you on the PS4, stop. It's over. You're not getting Grand Theft Auto 6. Sure, you're enjoying your Fortnite, you're enjoying your Warzone. That's probably what you guys are mostly playing. But if you want that Grand Theft Auto 6, now guess what? Now you have a reason to buy a PS5. That's the game to do it. That's the game that's going to make you buy a PS5, right? Because chances are most of you are just playing Warzone and Fortnite and Apex, so you don't really need a PS5. You're just playing these free-to-plays. But now you want the big gunner. You want that Grand Theft Auto 6? Better drop money on that PS5, and now's the perfect time to do it, right? And since you're on the PS5, now you can actually look at the games that's only available on PS5, right? Or some games that are cross-gen, but so much better on the PS5. You have your options. But at a minimum, Grand Theft Auto 6, that's not coming on PS4, so you give that up, right? So you definitely want to take advantage of this, especially if you want to play Grand Theft Auto 6. Do not wait till next year to buy a PlayStation 5 to play Grand Theft Auto 6. The console's going to cost more. You will end up paying more money for that, right? To play Grand Theft Auto 6. You will pay a lot more money. So don't do that to yourself. Get the console. I already have it at a cheaper price, especially wait for this sale, right? And if it comes up, and if there is a sale, you could get a PlayStation 5 for $350. Easy. Buy it and then just play your free-to-plays on that. And they'll run better and smoother anyway, right? Your Fortnites and Warzones, Apex, they'll run better and smoother anyway because they all have their updates for the PS5. So you'll get a better experience playing those games. And then when Grand Theft Auto 6 drops, you'll have the console already at a cheaper price. Don't wait till next day. Don't wait till next year and be like, I'll just get the PS5 next year. And then that sucker's like $600. That'll be your fault. That'll be just foolishness. Now, the final part, and this is the Xbox part, right? Go Gaming, I am Cloud or whatever his name is. He's like a bullshit account that just comes up with the most ridiculous things on pro Xbox and anti PlayStation stuff. But they're like ridiculously stupid. Like it's obvious, it's just stupid, right? Well, he did one of his things and he put developing leaked audio of PlayStation, Roki Totoki talking behind closed doors to investors. Gamers on PlayStation will need to get adjusted to games going to Xbox, Nintendo Switch, right? This was the leak audio, right? Of the vice president or the president of Sony saying, "Well, PlayStation's just gonna have to deal with games going to Xbox." Right? That's the type of content he did. Right? It's absolutely ridiculous. It's like crazy bullshit. Right? It's like a gimmick account, parody account. Right? Just doing the most ridiculous thing. Somehow the Xbox community didn't get the memo. They didn't get the memo, and they thought that this was real, and that the conversations right now many Xbox gamers are having is, see, Sony's behind. Xbox always knew, told you. And I'm like, holy shit, these guys are dumb as fuck. Like Xbox, I say this again, and this is absolute fact. It's not even debatable. Xbox community is the most uninformed community when it comes to gaming ever. And you just got to blame a lot of content creators. They led them to this point, right? And they're so uninformed and gullible that this account, right, which is, I would say, is more like rage bait account, right, just to piss off PlayStation guys, and this account does it phenomenally. But to sucker so many Xbox gamers into thinking that Sony is talking about putting games on Xbox, and they're having discussions saying, well, PlayStation gamers just gonna have to deal with it. It's absolutely insane. It just shows you how desperate and foolish that community is. Absolute desperate, absolute foolish. They are absolutely right now. It's not even so much that the Xbox games are going to PlayStation. It's the fact that Sony's not reciprocating in kind. They're seeing, Forza going to PlayStation, but Gran Turismo doesn't go to Xbox, right? They know Blade is going to go to PlayStation, but they're not going to get Spider-Man, right? They see Gears going to PlayStation, but they're not going to get Uncharted or The Last of Us. They see Halo going to PlayStation, but they're not going to get God of War or stuff like that, right? They see all the big AAA titles going to PlayStation, but the big AAA titles are just not reciprocating in kind. Now, of course, people are going to say, oh, but we get Marathon. We all know you were getting Marathon from the get-go. Before Sony even completed the purchase of Bungie, that was already on the table. They literally told you that nothing was going to change for Bungie, right? Bungie wants to remain a multi-plat developer, and Sony agreed. So we already knew Marathon was coming, or any Bungie game after that matter. Assuming they survive anyway. But if they do survive, any game Bungie makes is multi-platform. PC, Xbox, whatever device they want to do. That was just the trade-off, right? But the Gran Turismos, the God of Wars, Spider-Man, Wolverine, you know what I'm saying? Y'all fucked. Last of Us, Intergalactic, Ghost of Yotai, Ghost of Tsushima. Boy, all them big AAA hitters, forget about it. Stop begging, bro. You know what I'm saying? Stop begging, right? It's listen, Xbox guys, it's time you come to the fight. It's time to stop being fools and just recognize that Microsoft console strategy was an abysmal failure and they moved on. That is why they're doing this. Because very few people was buying the Xbox console. It was useless. It's a useless piece of tech. No one really cares for the shit. So Microsoft can't strategize around a device that people aren't buying, right? And this is global. It's even worse in overseas. Like, this shit is a non-factor. There's just not many people buying it. So you can't have a business that revolves around the hardware and supposed to bring in lots and lots of revenues and strategize around that. Look at PlayStation. PlayStation just reported $31 billion. And don't even think it's from PC or Xbox. Stop it. Not even close. That is what the console is doing, right? The PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 4 also, because it's still pretty relevant, the console is generating over $30 billion. It is primarily that's bringing in the revenue, right? And Sony reporting record profits. That is what you get to see when you have a successful console brand, right? Because you create the most dominant marketplace in gaming. It is the most dominant marketplace in gaming because not even Steam makes that much money. Steam doesn't come close to the amount of money PlayStation. Because if there was, then Valve will be making $30 billion a year. They don't. You understand? It's That's just how it is. You know, PlayStation has the most dominant gaming market in gaming. The first gaming company, right? Gaming brand to push over 30 billion in revenue, and it's only going to grow even more, and their profit is going to grow even more. That is powered by their console. It is not powered by PC. In fact, I think in the report, the combined PC, Xbox, and Nintendo, because they got MLB the Show on Nintendo, right, and the Horizon thing, which flopped actually, but everything that's on Nintendo, everything that's on Xbox, and everything that's on PC that PlayStation pushes, it generated about a billion in revenue out of the 31 billion. That should tell you. That should tell you how dominant the console strategy is for PlayStation. It's not the same for Xbox. Xbox console strategy sucks. You Xbox gamers aren't as big as you think. Listen, Xbox gamers, console gamers, you are a niche group. You're tiny. You don't got collectively, you ain't pushing the funds to make Microsoft think that you guys should have exclusives. They're not. They're not doing that. They're just gonna give you Game Pass and that's it. You know, but you guys are pissed off. You're desperate. You don't have the content creators to actually engage in good conversation and provide you the right information so that way you could be smart about things. Like, you guys are in a dark place, man. It sucks. Man, I'm so glad I'm not an Xbox, like hardcore Xbox gamer, right? That listens to everything Xbox says. I would be in a miserable place. It's just you guys are in a miserable place. You're in a bad place, man. Y'all got to figure something out. Y'all got to do better. Y'all got to do better. You got to give better info, have better conversations. You got to fix that community because this community is lost in the sauce when you guys got suckered by a rage bait account that's really designed to rage bait against PlayStation fanboys. This account is really meant to piss off PlayStation gamers, and instead you guys got baited and looked dumb. Wow, crazy. Anyway, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, for 60 Frames No Life podcast. And then Friday, you're gonna like this. I'm gonna have a debate with Josh Edits. He got called out, but he actually accepted. So I give him props for that. I give him props for that. Because most time, dudes are cowards. They run. The moment I challenge them, be like, yo, step up to the mic. Boy, they're out. Scared. He accepted, right? And he got a couple of topics, but more info on that. I'll push out more info on that one. But that's going to go Friday, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Same time. I try to keep it the same time, Tuesday and Friday, right? So stay tuned for that. Anyway, your only friend is YouTube Streets, Porter Rock 77, and I am out here. You guys take care. Where is the stop button? It's right here. Enjoy your weekend. Peace.
Grand opening.